Before we begin, I'd like to say I'm not an expert in Japanese culture. The reason this is important is because this affects our perception of scandals. Of course, we should base our ideas on what happened, but that doesn't stop cultural views from shaping public perceptions, especially considering all of these happened in Japan, and the proud American is talking to you. I'm not here to tell you Japan bad cause different, just that there's a cultural gap between me and the controversies I'll discuss. Also, for our purposes, if you were involved with Tokusatsu at all, which includes Kamen Rider and Super Sentai, and you did something bad, you're on the list. If you have a problem with that, then keep watching. I'd hate for your food to get cold. Joe Odagiri was the actor in Kamen Rider Kuuga, but what if I told you Joe doesn't like Kamen Rider? This all started with the rumor that the role for Kuuga was removed from Joe's website. Eventually he went on to the Kaiju radio show of Shigetori Takarada, an executive producer of some Kamen Rider and Super Sentai shows, most noteworthy, Kuuga. Joe said the website doesn't really include all his roles and that he wasn't able to give Kuuga a special place since it wasn't his debut role. He also says he's not a fan of Tokusatsu, that being superheroes transforming and fighting monsters, which I can't blame him. This stuff would kill me if I was lactose intolerant. Joe's dislike of Tokusatsu comes from his preference for more grounded acting. As a kid, Joe's mother would leave him at the cinema and he wanted to be a director. He went on to study film at California State, but due to some mistake, he ended up joining the theater or acting course. Whether the mistake was due to some language barrier or assuming the theater course in America included directing like in Japan, I'm not sure. So after 2 years, he went back to Japan and continued studying to be an actor. Joe's agency forced him to audition for Kuuga and Uchu Sentai Go-Go 5. Agencies will push their actors into tokusatsu roles as an entryway into the entertainment industry, as said by Yutaka Kobayashi, who starred in Kamen Rider Gaim. During the audition for the Sentai show, Joe was asked to pose and said something like he'd rather kill himself. Joe had reservations on Kuuga after the auditions, but Takarada convinced him that this wasn't the same as past Kamen Riders. Shigetori wanted to create a completely different Kamen Rider for a new generation, and Kuuga took inspiration from drama shows like ER, except if the police had to deal with monsters. Even though Joe doesn't like tokusatsu stuff, he does say it was his destiny to be Kuuga. He was motivated by Shigetori's ideas of a new-gen Kamen Rider and the idea of destroying what Kamen Rider was. Kuuga was not just popular with children, but performed so well with women they coined the phenomena after Joe. The Odagiri effect is where a program attracts a lot of women due to attractive characters, mostly attractive men. Kuuga was popular among older women. Think moms who could watch along with their kids to admire the new actors. Personally, I think what Joe disliked about Kuuga is people seeing it as the only thing he's done. While it is one of his more important roles, it's not the only thing he should be known for. A quote I found from him says, "If you can't erase the previous character, even after playing the next role after one work, I'd rather quit my job as an actor." Joe and many other Toku alumni aren't just their tokusatsu roles, they're actors that become the characters. And I'd hate to have a filmography this long, only for people to see me as that guy from Kuuga. In the end, Joe doesn't like tokusatsu stuff, but doesn't hate the time he spent on Kuuga or his cast members. If there's anything I guess he doesn't like, it's probably Toei, but, you'll learn more about that later. Uchu Sentai Kyurangers is a Zodiac-themed Sentai show that was adapted by Saban into Cosmic Fury, except they only took the Zords and used more stuff from Ryu Soldier. Unlike other Sentai shows, Kyurangers has a 12-ranger cast, and that's barely scratching the surface on why this was never adapted to Power Rangers. Alongside the fact that Sentai shows were vastly underperforming against Kamen Rider, and Saban's only concern was using popular shows to make more money. The ending dance in Kyurangers was changed from a pelvic thrust into a chicken wing. Doesn't seem that bad, but remember, American. I don't speak Japanese. Did you know that tama translates to balls, or in slang terms, testicles? And you have a dance with air humping? The Kyurangers transform with colored balls, so well intended but kinda questionable. So imagine the humping motions with the lyrics of balls, and you could I'm not mature at all. You could see why parents would have an issue with this. Especially considering Super Sentai is huge in Japan, and kids don't have the money to buy the second Memorial Edition Oja Caliber. One funny tweet about the controversy said, "What's wrong with hip shaking when kids were born as a result of their parents' hip shaking?" Look, I know this is a rough translation, but why say this? I'd rather parents know what their kids are watching, considering some parents give their kids tablets and wonder why they show up to a funeral in a fursuit. Sentai shows and Kamen Rider are made for kids, so keeping things appropriate for the kids watching makes perfect sense.
Beer, 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 beer. I can remember how much I have had.
I think we can agree there's nothing wrong with drinking alcohol. Though as your mental capabilities are encumbered, there's no telling what someone may do under the influence. Like Rio Yoshizawa. God, I feel kind of mean for doing that. Rio is a popular actor whose relevance to Tokusatsu is in his role of Kamen Rider Meteor in Fours. From what I gathered, on December 30th, 2024, Rio was allegedly out drinking with his friends, and he lost his memory. By that, he means he accidentally entered the home of his neighbor, who for some reason left their door unlocked, and used their bathroom. This led to the neighbor calling the cops on Rio, and Asahi terminating his contract. Asahi is a beer company that launched a campaign to promote a lower alcoholic beer with their Super Crystal Dry Beer, which has a 3.5% alcohol by volume. For comparison, Bud Light is 4.2, and the standard Asahi Super Dry Beer is a 5.0. Should Rio be punished in some way? Yeah, and sadly it makes sense why Asahi dropped him following this controversy. Their campaign was selling low alcoholic beers, and I'm guessing Rio wasn't found with Super Crystal Dries. Rio also has the image of a wholesome face, something I'd seen in the titles of lots of articles about the incident, which would make this more shocking to the average Japanese person. This incident also delayed the live-action Bon Bon vampire movie that Rio was also starring in. The film was supposed to release on February 14th, 2025, and was later released on July 4th, same year. Rio apologized to his neighbor, and his agency stated that he didn't have any ill intent while he walked into the home. He kept his contract with another company, Iris Oyama, a company that sells home appliances and storage bins. People respected Iris for not dropping Rio, unlike Asahi. Thankfully, nobody was hurt, and Rio reached a settlement with his neighbor, so the moral of the story is, don't commit a crime related to a product you're promoting. Lock your doors, because people are weird. Oh, don't drink excessively. That one's probably the moral that I should have led with. You're welcome anyway. Typecasting is a practice where actors are casted based on their looks, past roles, or personality. The problem with typecasting is that actors are supposed to have a wide range, and limiting someone like that cuts back on the roles they could play. This is the Kyuranger from Himitsu Sentai Kyuranger. Baku Haya Kiyama was the original Kyuranger. After high school, Baku briefly attended Waseda University, but dropped out to join the self-defense force. Once his service was complete, he wanted to pursue an acting career. Now, meet Mitsuru Suguya, a manga artist best known for Game Center Arashi, but he also worked with Shotaro Ishimori, the guy who made Kamen Rider and Super Sentai. Baku was employed at an agency run by Mitsuru's cousin, which led to Baku and Mitsuru becoming friends, later working with Ishimori on The Great Adventure of Finger 5. Later, Ishimori's studio received a request from a Toei producer, Toru Hirayama, to find people for Himitsu Sentai Kyuranger. Mitsuru told the executives that Baku would be a good fit for the role of Kyuranger based on Mitsuru's sketches, and Toru was happy. Children looked up to the Kyuranger character that Baku played as a strong man with a love of curry, which nearly scared away Rio Narushima from acting in Chikyu Sentai 5-Man. During the show's run, Baku wanted a break to participate in a play, so from episodes 55 to 67, Jiro Daruma became the Kyuranger in Baku's place, until Jiro's character was killed off for Baku's return. Sadly, once Go Ranger ended, Baku struggled to find work as an actor, and at 34 tragically took his own life by hanging. He left a note citing financial problems, a dwindling career, and his inability to escape being typecast as the Kyuranger as reasons he committed suicide. Naoya Makoto, who played Aka Ranger and Go Ranger, said in interviews that he regretted not being there to stop Baku from taking his life. Mitsuru even talks about Baku in his blogs that are mostly unavailable, but still there thanks to the Wayback Machine. The translations were kinda rough, but here's one part, and Mugi was Baku's stage name. It was 2 years later, in the summer of 1978, that Mugi was informed that he had committed suicide in his apartment. He says he was worried about his work, but he doesn't know the truth. This was also when I was desperately working to escape from living in an apartment without a bath, and my opportunities to meet with Mr. Mugi had decreased dramatically. At the request of his parents, he decided to refrain from attending the funeral where he was buried in his hometown, and decided to entrust his condolences to Mr. F, a fellow actor who attended as his lone representative. Apparently, because he appeared on many children's programs, he was slandered by saying he couldn't act for adults. It's unclear whether that's true or not, but if Kyuranger's image was too strong and influenced by his subsequent work, wouldn't I, who pitched him for the role, also be partially responsible? I was depressed for a while because I kept thinking about things like that. Sheesh, that's rough. Sadly, things don't get much better for Jiro either. Jiro also struggled to get another acting role thanks to being typecast, and eventually retired from acting. He moved to the Philippines, got married, had a kid, and later moved back to Japan where he took on lots of part-time work. He suffered from osteoarthritis and had surgery on his right knee, leading to him not having a job and needing a cane to move around. Following that, he suffered respiratory issues and now had a breathing tube in his throat. Jiro, from this point, could not find work due to his health problems, and in 2012, his wife eventually left him with their son, leaving him alone. He did manage to find some work, but hadn't been seen in the public for some time, until 2014, where there was an attempted reunion of the Go Rangers. Sadly, Naoya couldn't make it, but left a letter to Jiro wishing the best for him. In 2017, Jiro released a piano ballad about his life titled Perpetual Dreams, which you can listen to on YouTube. Then, on April 5th, 2025, this happened. A quote from Jiro says, "I just barely made it into this group. This is the condition I'm in now. I can't even speak without pressing on my throat, but I'm still here." This makes me happy. One last quote from Naoya talking about their gathering today says, "The fact that the Super Sentai series has continued for 50 years and will go on is something to be proud of. But today, I'm truly happy. My comrades from 50 years ago, including Jiro-chan, who's not in perfect health, still came out. Being able to see everyone again is overwhelming." Aw, that's nice. I wonder what's next for Super Sentai. Oh. First impressions? Pretty mid, but we'll see. The Go Rangers gathering was also to announce the All Super Sentai exhibition that shows off all heroes throughout the years, which is a great way to show off #1 Sentai Gojujure, the anniversary series that was still ongoing during the exhibition. Ultimately, it's tragic what happened to Baku and Jiro as a result of typecasting. I'm sure everyone who knew Baku is still hurting from his loss, and I hope Jiro, along with the other Go Rangers, are doing better. Toru Furuya is not just any voice actor and narrator. This guy's been around for years. For our purposes, he was the voice of Aka Red in Kaizoku Sentai Gokaiger, along with voicing Gao Red and Maji Red in the Go-Go Sentai Bokenger v Super Sentai specials. But for fun, let's go through some of his other roles. the protagonist of Gundam, Amuro Ray, Pegasus Seiya from Saint Seiya, Yamcha from Dragon Ball, Dragon Quest's Abel, Tuxedo Mask from Sailor Moon, Sabo in One Piece. In Detective Conan, he was Hiroshi Akimoto plus Toru Amuro. But in 2024, Furuya's Momocon appearance was cancelled, and he lost the acting roles for Sabo, Rei, Yamcha, and all of his roles in Metaphor ReFantasio, which begs the question.
Man! What did he do to make them niggas that mad?
He cheated on his wife with a 33-year-old fan for 4.5 years that he admitted to assaulting and forced her to get an abortion. Yeah. This scandal was brought to light by Shukan Bunshin, or Weekly Bunshin, which is a tabloid site in Japan that I want you to remember for the next segment. The best way to describe Bunshin is with this tweet from Movie Bob, or a better quote is from the Wikipedia article about them. Bunshin is also known for sensationalist headlines and texts that put the subjects they deal with in a bad light, because in a system in which advertising profits are increased by the number of contacts, what matters is attracting the attention of readers, acting alongside the concept that the interest is economically superior to quality information. To be fair to Furuya, Bunshin is generally untrustworthy, but he admits to a lot of this stuff when directly questioned. The fan's name will be Akko as I'm going through this story. Akko became a fan of Furuya following the release of Detective Conan Zero from 2018. Furuya's role as Toru Amuro brought him an award, new fan attention, and the moment where he met Akko. She went to one of his meet and greets in 2017 where she had a chance to closely interact with him. But on New Year's Day of 2019 is when Furuya sent her a message. They first went out on dates. In February and in March, the two had sex in a hotel. During the encounter, Akko was worried about getting pregnant, but Furuya said he, quote, can't produce sperm, so there'll be no worries of her getting pregnant. Akko recounts that, quote, even though he said that, I was still anxious about getting pregnant. But he was my idol, someone I admired deeply. In September 2020, at Furuya's villa, the two got into an argument over their relationship. Furuya loved Akko but wasn't going to divorce his wife to be with her, and wouldn't break things off with Akko. During the argument, things got heated and Furuya hit her. Akko, terrified, ran to the bathroom and dialed 110 for the police. Furuya then broke in and shut off her phone. When Furuya refused to give Akko back her phone, she decided to leave the villa. But guess who chased after her begging for forgiveness and convinced her to go back? God, why? When they returned, the police were waiting outside the villa. Akko confronted them while Furuya hid in the back room. Despite this incident, the two managed to maintain their relationship, thanks to Furuya using the voice of Toru Amuro, the Detective Conan character, to say he loved her. Then, in March 2021, Akko learned she was pregnant, and Furuya apparently said, I'm sorry, I want you to get an abortion. Is it really mine? That can't be called a life yet. The two then went to the hospital to abort the pregnancy. Akko wanted Furuya to sign hospital consent forms following the abortion, but he refused, eventually signing a memorandum after the surgery. The two didn't talk after the abortion, but they still managed to get back together.
For the love of God! Please!
They eventually broke up about a year later in September, arguing over their futures. Furuya got angry and brought up the abortion, along with the fact he was a married man when Akko got involved with him. In the moment, Akko felt betrayed, and eventually Furuya left. Akko says the relationship was a mess, but there were moments where she felt genuinely happy. Okay, I have to bring this up because if I don't mention this quote, I'm going to be doing you all a huge disservice. One thing Furuya said to Akko during their relationship was, I have not been intimate with my wife in decades. So being with you isn't cheating. Then the Weekly Bunshin requested an interview, and I won't go through all the questions and answers, but I will go through most of them. Is it true you were in an affair with Akko for 4.5 years? Yes, that's true, there's no denying it. There is a 37-year age difference between you and her, making her the same age as your daughter. I was completely caught up with the idea of being with a young, attractive woman. I let myself get carried away. Did sex play a big role in your relationship? Yes. Being with her made me feel like I was still a man. That I still had it in me. That I still had it in me. Fuck's sake. Did you think there would be no consequences even without protection? Years ago, when I got checked out at the hospital, I was told there was no possibility of pregnancy through normal intercourse. Is it true that you were violent with her at your villa? It's true, but it wasn't with a fist. It was with an open hand. I hit her 2 or 3 times. During our fight, she started saying she was going to leave. I panicked, I lost control, and lashed out. You also said that can't even be called a life yet. She was about 5 weeks along at the time, and that was my thinking back then. But I said that intending to console her as she was struggling with the situation. Does your family know about the affair? I told them everything before this interview. My wife said I was foolish and short-sighted, and that we'll have to live with this shame. It seems she told our daughter, who apparently said I'm on Dad's side.
Stop the cap.
Is everything you've said here the truth? Yes, without doubt. I am completely at fault, and resorting to violence was despicable, the lowest thing a person can do. I am genuinely sorry. I'm ready to accept any repercussions that come my way, even if it means losing everything because of this. Finally, there's Furuya's public apology. I have an apology and report for the great crime I have committed. I had an affair with a female fan for a long period of 4.5 years up until September last year. I was attracted to her for her direct support, so I contacted Ako myself and started a relationship with her. During that relationship, we got into an argument and couldn't help but raise our hands. It was the worst thing a human being could do as an adult. I also made the unforgivable mistake of having my pregnancy terminated. I am truly, truly sorry for deeply hurting the other woman both physically and mentally. I'm here. I can't apologize for betraying, disappointing, hurting, and tarnishing the character of the fans who have supported me for so many years. We have betrayed the trust of all those involved and are causing great inconvenience. There was. I will spend the rest of my life making amends wholeheartedly. I am prepared to accept any sanctions. I am truly sorry. He apologized. I'm not sure why Toei carefully considered dropping Furuya, nor do I understand why some Japanese fans are happy to see him in Tsuchiya's car story comments. Guy returned to the public about half the duration of his 4-year-long affair, and people are acting like their fathers returned home. Furuya kept Ako close enough to use her, yet knew he couldn't make her happy and wasn't going to divorce his wife for her. Furuya initially reached out to her, and I don't think I've heard a story about a voice actor using the voice of a character they played to say I love you to someone. I won't even rehash the abortion or assault at the villa either. Furuya knew what he was doing and deserves no sympathy in my books. He's a 70-year-old man with a wife and daughter roughly the same age as Ako. But then again, if people learn empathy at 30, then this must be another thing you pick up with age. Furuya did seem remorseful in his apology, and even when the Bunshin interviewer came to talk to him, but it seems way too soon to suddenly forgive him, and a bad call to let him have voice acting work again. When you abuse that power or influence you gain as a celebrity to take advantage of your fans, you've proven you don't deserve to keep that power. Furuya proved that he isn't some role model for people to strive towards being, and shouldn't have another opportunity to do voice work. In the same way you wouldn't hire a preschool teacher convicted for touching children to work at another preschool, you shouldn't hire a voice actor who took advantage of a starstruck fan to be a voice actor again. Only time will tell if Furuya is genuinely remorseful, but I'd wait a little longer before I pretend this incident didn't happen or was just, a little mistake. Maya Imamori is an influencer and grav model who became the first female Black Ranger, starring in #1 Sentai Go Kyuranger. Maya was let go after she was found drinking while being underage. That doesn't sound that bad, except because agencies in Japan own your likeness and Maya's drinking violated her contract, she was removed from everything. The intro to the show itself, the website, her lines were dubbed over, and she was replaced with Kohaku Shida from Dawn Brothers. Her removal from the show also led to reshoots and potentially some lost media, all for the crime of drinking at 19 in Japan, where the legal drinking age is 20. Maya apologized on Instagram before she privated all her socials, and hasn't been seen online since. You might be thinking grimly that's clearly not everything that happened, and you're kinda correct. I'll admit my recollection of events is a bit messy, but from what I gathered, Bunshin alleged Maya was in an affair with Kosuke Asai. Asai is the suit actor for Gojuger and many other shows. Weekly Bunshin, the same people who caught Furuya for his affair, stated Maya and Asai's stemmed from translated tweets from a 13-year-old Maya tweeting about Lupin and Pat Ranger. These tweets are being used as proof that she had a crush on Asai, which doesn't make any sense. What kid watches these shows and thinks about how cool the suit actors are over their civilian forms? On top of that, the article makes Asai sound like his character from the show. These are the sorts of things you'd expect to hear from an influencer joking about the scandal after the fact. Even for a tabloid, this is scummy and completely unearned. And mentions of the affair are from unknown acquaintances / shadowy staff members. There's so little in here, I applaud Hawkillies, the Anime Secrets podcast, and Chubby Cat, who have a pretty decent timeline on the scandal, and for paying to read the Bunshin articles, because I wasn't going to. But what bothers me is that people took this seriously enough to condemn Maya over. Sure, Bunshin was right when they caught Furuya, but that doesn't mean every time Bunshin says something it's true. Asai posted on Instagram after Gojuger he retired on January 1st, 2025. Due to health issues, he left the show in early September, or around episode 28. And Maya's contract was terminated on November 8th. People heard they both left the show and believed there was some truth to the Bunshin articles. While I was researching this, the idea of underage drinking being a cover for something else kinda checked out in the back of my mind. I couldn't blame someone for coming to that conclusion, especially if you didn't know how Japanese agencies work. Additionally, rumors of a video or photo showing Maya drinking circulated on TikTok, where she was at a party with her friends drinking champagne. I've only heard people mentioning this, and I'm not sure if anyone's found it. Bunshin also accuses Maya of cheating on football player named Yutaka Michiwaka with Asai. Apparently, Bunshin reached out to Seiju, Maya's agency, who investigated the claims and confirmed they weren't in a relationship or cheating on each other, which destroys both articles. You can't two-time anyone if you aren't in a relationship to begin with. There were also reports about Maya working at a bar / lounge, which also comes with another story on the day episode 37 aired. The TV exec said Maya was supposed to publicly apologize for the affair she was or wasn't involved in. Instead of going to the TV execs and apologizing, Maya said sorry from her dressing room. Then, she filmed an episode for Gojuger and the TV execs questioned whether her apology was genuine. The staff and cast members were also allegedly angry at this, which is odd because this story happened in September and Maya was removed from the show in November, meaning there was a whole month where everything seemed fine. Then they learned about Maya allegedly working at a bar that let her serve alcohol at 19, where serving alcohol in Japan requires you to be 20, and didn't tell her agency where she was working. According to the article, all of these factors led to Seiju terminating Maya's contract, though it still leaves some questions. 1. Why are so many people in this story anonymous? Maya is a 19-year-old with no connections and a TikTok account. She has no influence is what I'm saying. If you're going to say all this stuff about somebody, then you should do it with your name tied to it, or
You could shut the fuck up.
Second, how can someone work on one of the most popular shows in the country and potentially need a second job to make ends meet? We interrupt this controversy to bring you a second controversy. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the Toei agency method. 5 years ago, the Tokusatsu Network put out a video talking about how much tokusatsu actors are paid. Fumiya Shizuka, an actress from Kamen Rider 4's, said in 2011 she was paid about 50,000 yen a month as a debut/new actor, which is about $600. Because the yen is very weak right now, that's $318 a month, even with Toei offering you lodging. Also worth noting that the 50,000 yen is what she got paid after her agency got their part of the money. If you become a big name actor, then people will pay more for you, but there's no guarantee you get big. It's more like you're being paid in exposure. The minimum wage in Japan is currently 1118 yen, and assuming a 40-hour work week with roughly 4 weeks in a month, that's 194,308 yen a month, aka about 4 times what you'd make as a debut actor. Fumiko stayed with her parents to not worry about food costs, but the actor Yuki Yamada, or Shinken Blue, said in 2011 he lived on about $300 a month after fees while filming Shinkenger, saying, "It's such a difficult life." But looking back on the hero shows held at the Tokyo Dome City and the other places, he said, "Children, do your best. I was standing there just by doing that." He recalled saying that he was able to get through it with cheers. Regarding his eating habits, he said, "How should I divide this pasta? And if I played a game, could I get into it without eating? So I just played the game." Then there's Tori Matsuzaka, or Shinken Red. Matsuzaka talked about his water-heavy diet. Due to the low wages paid to new actors and hero actors in particular, the star would often find himself subsiding on water to try and drink more than necessary so as to make his stomach feel full. After hearing from Fumika, Tori, and Yuki, it's no surprise that Maya would have a second job. Assuming she did have one, then she should have told her agency about it. But if it had no effect on filming, this story is true, and she wasn't drinking while working at the bar, then I'm not seeing the harm. Again, you have to be 20 to serve alcohol in Japan, but you could work at bars at 19. Ultimately, agencies in Japan wield a lot of power over their talents. If you'd like to learn more, then Japanalysis has a video talking about idols in Japan. I notice a lot of overlap with idol agencies and actor agencies, so check that out. Maya was also harassed for being half Filipino, but this one's also kinda weird. I've heard that there was some harassment campaign against her for it, but you could say there was as much harassment coming from the tabloids. Bunshin used tweets from a 13-year-old Maya to allege she wanted to get with Asai. The football player Michi Waka, who I'm not sure has any connection to Maya, was also used to make her look worse. Even the articles about the bar and TV execs are questionable. Everyone's anonymous or insiders, which to me makes it harder to gauge their credibility. I can't find where this was stated, so take it with a pinch of salt, but some tabloid allegedly threatened to put out a third article about Maya if she wasn't dropped by either her agency or Gojuger. It's no shock that this Gizmodo article mentioned the idea that Maya was being targeted by the tabloids. After everything I've learned, I could totally believe it. Again, I'm not here to tell you that Maya wasn't harassed for being half Filipino. Just that there are other Toku actresses that aren't fully Japanese that weren't harassed for it. Though, while Maya was being harassed, Seiju, her agency, apparently didn't do anything to help her. The statement summarized says, "Don't mess with our talents or we will take you to court." Kinda weird considering Maya at this point was no longer involved with Seiju. I saw this statement was posted on November 13th, 2025, but it's possible it was out sooner, which would make Seiju look a little less crappy. On the note of the harassment, people online have said Maya's drinking stems from the bullying. Not sure I believe this because there's dozens of other coping mechanisms, or the fact there's no context on Maya drinking other than she was drinking and apologized for it. But by saying Maya drank due to the bullying, this sorta attempts to excuse her behavior. On its face, what Maya did is both a crime and violates her contract with Seiju. They are within their rights to enforce that contract, as much as I don't think it's a big deal. Do I think Seiju should have waited until after Gojuger to drop her? Definitely, and I think that would be a better move for all parties involved. But if you want to be angry, point your anger at people like Seiju, Toei executives, Bunshin, the Japanese entertainment system, or weirdos who are comfortable saying shit like this online. These people heard she got into an affair with a married man and wished it was them while showing off her photos. Though don't fret, we have tools to fight them, the power of prayer. Everyone please bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, I am not worthy to ask this of you, nor should I hold up the prayer line with my selfish request. Yet I humbly ask of you, please make these people infertile. For this, we all say, Amen. The controversy surrounding Maya doesn't sound that bad. She's definitely no Toru Furuya, but this happened at the worst time for Toei. Super Sentai has been on the decline in terms of toy sales for some time, and while it's funny to laugh at a corporation making slightly less in the billions of yen, or roughly 6 mil USD, it's less funny for the people who are underpaid and overworked. Having less money to work with cuts down on Toei's ability to produce anything or pay people. Additionally, as an anniversary show, Kyurangers bears a heavier cross than normal. It's not just its own story, it's a way to cap off 50 years of Sentai history and pay respect to it. So the controversy with Maya doesn't just hurt her, considering she lost a minor acting role completely unrelated to Kyurangers. It also negatively hurts the show. I personally didn't watch Kyurangers, I've heard some mixed things about it online, so I got my brother who actually watched it to talk about Maya's removal from the show.
I was watching Kyurangers for the moment it started, along with Gav. For the most part, it was a really good show, and it still is. But the removal of Maya Imamori and the reshoots they did with Kohaku Shida really did damage the show. I watched a review from a guy being like, "Oh, I'll wrap up my thoughts, but I won't bring up any celebrity drama." But you kind of have to when it affects the main content. We already know about the episodes where Sumino was just conveniently off-screen for everything that wasn't a fight scene where she was in her full armor. But then you have shit like during the reshoots, all 4 male actors will be on one side of the camera saying something, and they'll conveniently cut to her on the other side of the screen being like, "Yeah, I second that." Most egregious was during the final episode, where everyone was lined up in their uniforms minus their masks, ready to do their roll calls, but Kohaku's character was just wearing her helmet. It's so distracting, especially since she was front and center during the entire thing, which makes the least sense considering they gave her the least amount of attention after the controversy happened. It ruined an arc where she was supposed to find her sister. They did a clip show early on in the season, which was fine, but then before she was recasted, they did another clip show episode. At the end of the second clip show episode, Sumino's character conveniently gets a power-up that other characters had to overcome some emotional test or trial to get. And from the way her arc was seeming at the time, I don't think she would have actually found her sister by that episode. Maybe it would have just been her reaffirming her commitment to saving her. But it doesn't matter anyways, because at the end of the show when the main character wins the Battle Royale, he chooses to use his wish to start the Battle Royale over again, only with his friends revived at the moment. Once the second Battle Royale ends, completely off screen by the way, we do get a scene of Sumino and her sister playing at the beach, and despite the weird feet shots, which there were a lot of by the way, Toei, I'm looking really square at you guys, the scene was especially good because I guess since they only had to worry about getting 2 actors in one place, they managed to actually get Kohaku Shida in the same area as the girl playing Sumino's younger sister, which made it feel more authentic, because for a second there I thought they weren't going to, since the scene started off with both of their backs facing the camera. The scene itself was detached from everything else. You had all the other guy characters in the cafe area completely separated from her, but for her character, it does make really good sense as an ending. I've seen a couple other Sentai shows before, but definitely not enough to say whether or not Kyurangers is a good ending to the franchise as a whole. All in all, the whole Maya Gate thing was a pretty ugly thing to do to a person, and of course my brother already went into heavy detail about why that whole thing was shitty. But really, it only left a massive ugly stain on Kyurangers. And the ending of Sentai as a franchise as a whole, it's fine. The rest of the show is fine, it's fine. All in all, the whole Maya Gate thing was a pretty ugly thing to do to a person, and it did leave a massive stain on the pretty good show that Kyurangers was, especially with all the promotional material, making it seem like Maya got fucking Mussolini'd or Stalin. I'm not a historian. But other than that, the show was fine. It's just a really distracting and thing, you know?
I doubt Toei wanted to spend more on reshooting from episodes 37 onwards, and I'm sure the editors had a fun job trying to add Kohaku in post. But look, Super Sentai is a kids show, and you want your cast of characters to be role models for the kids. I get that. But the way I see it, this turned from a learning opportunity into a hazing session. What lessons are we teaching kids through this controversy? Assuming the story about the TV execs is true for a moment, then put yourself in Maya's shoes and tell me what she should have done. If she doesn't apologize, then the crew would probably believe all the rumors and treat her silence as an admission of guilt. Yet, if she goes out and publicly apologizes for the affair that she likely wasn't involved in, people would call her every synonym for horror you could imagine. Plus, this would make things worse for Asai, his wife, and Michiwaka. There's nothing she could have done in the bar story to prove she wasn't involved with Asai. The game was rigged when she signed the contract, or, my personal theory, blew off one of these 80-year-old men at one of these companies and then in retaliation wanted to ruin her life. There aren't many innocents in this controversy. The president of TV, Asahi, publicly apologized for the scandal and says they aren't going after Maya for damages, but beyond that, Toei should pay debut actors way more, assuming the numbers haven't changed. Nobody should believe anything from Bunshin or any news organization without solid evidence. And while Maya is wrong for violating her contract, her failings reflect worse on Seiju, her agency. They should have done more to defend Maya from the harassment, nurture her as a talent of their agency, and possibly give her another chance to do better. Kids will make mistakes, and instead of rubbing their faces in their failure, it's better to teach them so they can grow up and do better. That's all you can hope for. But Toei was only concerned with maintaining a clean image. And this is how Sentai ends. 50 years of Sentai ruined not by Maya for her drinking, but by a system that exploited her and other young actors in Japan. Along with, declining toy sales. That's probably the bigger part, but, In a recent interview, screenwriter Akihiko Inoue and producer Daigo Matsuda believed they'd be ushering in a new era of Sentai shows until episode 10, when they learned that the series would end with Gojuger. It would have been screwed regardless of what Maya did, though the scandal doesn't help, so don't believe the idea that Sentai was cancelled because of her. And yeah, my opinions as a foreigner are meaningless because the show isn't made for me. So, I guess I'll never talk about anything related to Japan ever again. Well, if you enjoyed that, I'm not sure how you enjoyed much of what I talked about today. Leave a like if you thought this was interesting, or dislike if you hated it, because I did too. Comment your thoughts down below, things I missed, or if you have other controversies for me to add to the list for another time. I'll be streaming on Twitch when I'm not procrastinating or struggling to find work still, so you can talk to me live. Till next time, later, fleshbags.